Right, so for this week's episode as well, I've got a M&P9L that needed some fixing. As you can see here, if you rack the slide from a certain direction, the hammer resets. So if you rack it from the back, it resets. If you rack it from the front, it does not. That indicates that the slide's lifting and not setting the hammer back. I just checked there and the hammer is working, so it's not a hammer sear problem. The most likely cause of it is that the previous owner has sanded the hammer mech down too far. The rails on these Garda slides are very, very tight. They're a nightmare to fit the internals, and you have to end up grinding off loads of the interior of the slide to be able to get a blowback unit to fit. And to get the rails to work, you end up having to grind off quite a lot of material off of the hammer rails as well. So it looks like someone's done that and maybe gone a little bit too heavy-handed with the grinder, and as a result the slide sits too proud and doesn't reset. Here I'm taking apart the frame. There's a pin that comes out, and then you take the grip off after twisting the pin out. There's a little crosshead screw in the back that holds the whole hammer mech in place. So just take that out and put it to the side. Then the hammer mech just pops out. There you go. You've got to be careful because the detent pin will disappear. They're spring loaded like the Glock 18C detent pin, so it can launch with really quite some force. Take the safeties off. Just give them a bit of a wiggle, but be careful because of obviously that safety. There you go. Managed to launch it into the floor, not into the ceiling or other side of the room. There are 3 or 4 screws you need to undo. There's the brand new hammer mech. It comes in an A and a B side, so as you can see here I'm taking some of the packaging off, checking which side I've got. Taking the other side out. One side has this long pin and the other side is quite small, as you can see. I've just put those together to see how they fit, and you can see I'm having some trouble sliding the rail across the hammer mech. Now, the problem commonly is actually the sides of the rail, not the top and bottom, as a lot of people make this mistake. So all I'm doing here is shaving a little bit of paint off of the sides on both sides, do it evenly. There you go. Yep. So now I'll put it together again and check it slides if I've done a good job. I think I have done a good job. I only need to do it once. There you go, look at that. Glides. There you go. So that's all you have to do. You don't need to grind the top and bottom down as a few people recommend. Now you take all the screws out. There's a screw that holds the valve knocker in place, and then there's 2 screws that hold the body together. You should undo those. They're 2 different head types, which is a bit annoying, but oh well. So always with these hammer mechs, watch out for things that go flying. Thankfully the M&P9 one's quite forgiving and things don't typically go flying. So yeah, there is this little, I don't know what you call it, this little spring that guides the valve knocker, so that goes in first, and there's also the hammer spring. There you go. So I'm trying to get the valve knocker onto the spring. I end up fiddling around here a little bit because it's quite difficult to get it all together. There's also a little hook at the bottom of where the hammer spring sits, and the hammer spring sort of clips into that, so it's a little bit awkward. I've lost the hammer spring. Compared to a lot of other hammer mechanisms, actually this is one of the simpler ones that you can work on. Is literally like, including the springs, I think it's 4 pieces. Whereas, for example, the Glock hammer mech is a lot more complicated. High capper one's not too bad actually, although people keep getting the leaf springs wrong on those. I think I spend ages here butterfingering things and slipping and sliding. My hands are quite oily at this point because of all the grease that's packed in the hammer mech. Just checking there whether it's supposed to captivate the spring or not, and it does a little bit. So on the old hammer mech I've got the spring clips in, whereas on the new one it doesn't clip in so much. I did debate bending the metalwork to make it clip in, but I decided it wasn't worth risking breaking anything. The hammer sits quite far back on this. It sits almost sort of lounging back a little bit, so trying to get it all together is a bit of a challenge. Right, starting again. This is my first time disassembling an M&P9 hammer mechanism, hence all the fiddling. Trying to find the right way to hold it all in. Knuckles GSM once said that you need to be an octopus to work on hammer mechs, and I firmly believe he is right on that. It's not even the most complicated hammer mechs, is it? '20th time the charm? Nope. I do get it right eventually, I promise. There's also a tube that you put through the hammer, and it kind of acts as a bearing that the hammer runs across. Sort of like the, there you go, that's the doodad. Similar to the high capper hammer bearing. Or the tube that the hammer spins on. Fairly sure this video could have been 10 minutes shorter if I just got it right the first time round, but anyway. That looks like it, all snaps in place. Making sure the hammer spring is in the right position. Put the bearing on. Now I'm moving all the sear parts over. I think these are disconnect parts, sorry, from the old mech to the new mech. This is quite convenient, it's quite nice. It all sort of captivates. The spring tension holds it all in place. I would still be really careful with these sort of mechanisms, because the moment the spring slips, you've just launched the spring and the sear piece halfway across the room, never to be seen again. Go, it's wobbling, and you reset the hammer into the right position, it all snaps together. And then you put the 3 screws back in, which aren't magnetic. There we go. That's number 1. That's the disconnector that has just been screwed in, and now you put in the other 2 body pin screws. I'd always be wary about over tightening these screws, because they're made of pot metal, so it's quite easy to shear them, and then you've, for the sake of an extra turn, you've just cost yourself like 20-30 quid for a new hammer chassis, or you might have to drill it out. There you go, just a little, and check it works. There you go, seems to work. And then the other side of the disconnector goes in. And the safety holds it all together. Make sure you get the right side. To me, this is counterintuitive, but you have to think about it quite hard. Be careful when doing this, because if you do it wrong, you launch it miles. I think I did. I launched it, and thankfully it didn't go very far. I would normally suggest a flathead screwdriver and just push it in with the top of flathead. Used a crosshead, which did the job. Squeeze the 2 safeties together. And now time to drop it all back in the chassis. Oh, the disconnector fell out whilst I wasn't looking. Normally you'd take the disconnector off, but I was being lazy. It's taken me so long to get the hammer and valve knocker in that I was taking shortcuts. You kind of force it in and then force the spring in. Hope for the best. And now you just you do the reverse, so you drop the hammer mech in. Make sure that the trigger is seated properly. Put in the pin. I would recommend doing this with a rubber-ended mallet, not your cheap screwdriver handle. Put the screw back in to secure the hammer mech. Grip back on, get it the right way around, the little pin to hold it all in place, and then check it works. Check the valve knocker resets, which it does. That all looks good. And then just using the end of the pliers to put the pin back in properly. There we go. Rack it from the back, click, rack it from the front, click. So the hammer's resetting every single time, which is magic. I'm now going to put in the lightweight blowback unit. This is quite easy. There's 2 screws that fix to the iron sights. You undo those. Take the nozzle and spring out. Put the nozzle and spring and piston head in the new one. Fit it. I've not done a video for it because it's quite awkward, but I chronoed this, and with the lightweight nozzle, blowback unit and piston head, it is doing 270 FPS on 0.25s. There you go. The easiest way to do this is leave the spring uncompressed until the last possible moment. I found this extractor a bit of a pain, trying to figure out which way to get it in, but it does seem to work like the proper extractor. It pivots. So as you see, go in, drop it in the back end first. Oop, the little spacer fell out, so you put that in. Use a screwdriver or something to put it in place. Fine head of it. Fine head on the screwdriver. There you go. Slot it in and then drop the whole thing in. Make sure that it hasn't got caught on anything. I would always recommend having loads of spare nozzle springs because it's one of the most common bits of damage I see on basically every gas blowback pistol, because every once in a while people get the blowback unit in wrong, like whether it's high cappers or Glocks or M&Ps or P226s, they eventually mess up the inserting the blowback unit, and you end up crushing the the nozzle return spring. So I have a bag of them. Buy a bag of them, and you'll be laughing. There you go. Ooh, that's me overextending it. There you go. A little bit of lube will fix that. There you go. Barrel goes in. Steel barrel, steel guide rod. And there you go. Hammer resets every time, so that's all done. This will be going off to its new owner tomorrow, so hopefully they enjoy it.